Welcome to the Smith and Rowland Show. Let's join our host, Alan Smith and Jeff Rowland.
Good afternoon, Alan Smith. How are you?
Good afternoon, Mr. Roland. Brother Roland, how are you?
I'm doing great. And guess what?
What?
You're never going to believe it.
What?
Time for the Smith and Rowland podcast.
I was going. It's right on the tip of my tongue.
I knew it was.
Yeah.
But sometimes I have to help you.
Yeah, you do, and I'm with you. Time for the Smith and Rowland.
It's time for Smith and Rowland.
Okay.
And you've had a good day.
I've had a good day. Got a few things that are concerning me on my mind.
Me too.
It's going on around Charlie Kirk and his death. It's the side effects of his death.
And have you ever seen anybody have as many side effects to their passing as Charlie Kirk
Does
has?
somebody not let him just get him in the ground first?
Think about it. There is, I believe, an outpouring of the Holy Spirit around his death.
Mm-hmm.
That his death put fuel on the embers that was already there, and it's rising up. You have the left making complete idiots out of themselves as a result of his death, such as the firing of Jimmy Kimmel.
Mm-hmm.
Completely inappropriate statements being made. You have the right trying to break off from the Trump administration and using the death of Charlie Kirk to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen as many side effects to one man's
We couldn't have dreamed it up.
No.
This is the best thing it can be. I'll say best thing. I hate it's a tragedy, but some incredible things can come out of it as far as revival.
Yeah.
People come to the Lord. I've heard quite a few testimonies of people returning to the Lord, some getting born again over this situation.
Yeah.
And but at the same time, let me say it like this, Jeff. When I went to school, I wasn't the best. I didn't make the highest grades in the class. I mean, I was on up there pretty good. I was a good 38th in my class.
There wasn't but 39 in your class.
37, actually. And so, I knew that. I knew enough just to get me through the day.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let me tell you something. The 8 years I spent in the 8th grade has proved out to be good.
It's all proved out to be good.
Just right there.
But we used to have in my class what I called smart people, and I gained a lot of security in knowing that the smart people would go on to be doctors, politicians. They would run the corporate side of the United States and the world. I took great comfort in knowing the smart people that remembered their stuff would be running the world.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the smart people have let me down.
Big time.
They are not doing a good job running the world. Smart people.
Just big time.
The smart people, it's proven to me, just because you know something doesn't mean that that's what you'll do.
That's right.
Now, we can take that to Christianity if you want to, but we won't right at the moment.
Right. But there are parallels.
There are parallels.
Yeah, there are.
All right, go ahead, Roland. What we got here today?
Well, this is an issue that is coming up as a result of Charlie Kirk's death. Okay. And now the battle lines are being drawn around free speech.
Mm-hmm. Like the Jimmy Kimmel stuff.
Yeah, Jimmy Kimmel. And now Tucker Carlson's weighing in on it. Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, has made statements that Tucker Carlson is taking issue with. I think we ought to take issue with anything we disagree with and have the freedom to say that. But placed in the context of where we are at the moment is what I would like for people to consider. There's just about a 2-minute video here. It's got a statement by Pam Bondi at the beginning, and then it's got Tucker Carlson's comments after. I'd like for us to hear that and then talk about what is it that is going on with Jimmy Kimmel? What is it that's going on with freedom of speech? Are we under attack? I would dare say, and I think you'd agree with this, freedom of speech is the foundational element to democracy. Freedom of speech, without freedom of speech, we have nothing. We are then told what, if we're told what to say, then we don't have a democracy. If we don't have the freedom to speak and have dialogue with what we disagree with or agree with. We need that freedom of speech. However, there is context to everything. And so, as you know, we watch this video. I'd like to comment on it.
Here we go, Avery.
There's free speech, and then there's hate speech. And there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie, in our society.
There's free speech, and then there's hate speech. This is the Attorney General of the United States, the Chief Law Enforcement Officer of the United States, telling you that there is this other category called hate speech. And, of course, the implication is that's a crime. There's almost no sentence that Charlie Kirk, and I'm not running the risk of appropriating his memory for my own ends by saying this. It's provable. There's no sentence that Charlie Kirk would have objected to more than that. And you've got to think the Attorney General didn't think it through and was not attempting to desecrate the memory of the person she was purporting to celebrate, that she just threw that out there, that she hadn't thought about it. You hope that. You hope that Charlie Kirk's death won't be used by a group we now call bad actors to create a society that was the opposite of the one he worked to build. You hope that. You hope that a year from now, the turmoil we're seeing in the aftermath of his murder won't be leveraged to bring hate speech laws to this country. And trust me, if it is, if that does happen, there is never a more justified moment for civil disobedience than that, ever. And there never will be. Because if they can tell you what to say, they're telling you what to think. There is nothing they can't do to you because they don't consider you human. They don't believe you have a soul. A human being with a soul, a free man, has a right to say what he believes.
And that's basically all of it. Is
that it?
That's the video.
Okay.
Yeah. That's his comment. What Pam Bondi said, if I understood her right at the beginning, she said there is free speech, there's hate speech.
Mm-hmm.
And we, especially now at this time around Charlie Kirk's death, need to be careful of that.
Yeah.
Tucker Carlson said that she was implying that hate speech would be a crime. I didn't necessarily hear that in what she said, though from her position, I can understand why he would draw that concern or be concerned. She's the Attorney General of the United States. I get that. What is your opinion about those that are celebrating Charlie Kirk's death?
Well, I think that Bondi was making a distinction. She was just breaking down speech, free speech, hate speech. I can break it down and say, well, you got some uplifting speech, you got some encouraging speech, then you got some hate speech. That's not out of context. To make encouragement a crime, encouragement speech, to make hate speech, and to make any of those distinctions of speech a crime, I think is wrong. I think that is against the First Amendment. But let me make a distinction here, Mr. Roland. And let's take like the Kimmel situation, the things that he said. The things that he said didn't offend me. I don't care if I am offended.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any difference to me.
I agree.
And he's a comedian. He's on TV. But I can't say he can say what he wants to. It's because there's a group that hires him to do this show, and it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
I've heard up to millions is his contract, a 3-year contract or something, 50 million or something, some crazy number. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying I got all that right, but it's so much money I had never counted it. So but here's my point. Tucker Carlson,
Jimmy
Kimmel is an employee of a company. Mm-hmm. So you can't be an employee of a company, of Coca-Cola or any other company, and go out here doing a presentation, doing your job. I don't think if you're working for Coca-Cola and you go into a place delivering your goods into a store, and that you go in there and you start telling everybody, giving your opinion while you're delivering Coke. Mm-hmm. And the reason is you're being paid to do a job. Mm-hmm. You're not being paid to run your Yap.
Right.
You're being paid to do a job. I see somebody that exercises their freedom of free speech. I'm working, selling Coca-Colas. I'm going to go out here and I'm going to preach and I'm going to teach and I'm going to tell everybody what I think about who's doing wrong. Mm-hmm. While I'm working for Coca-Cola. I don't see that any difference in working for Coca-Cola and looking at your phone.
Yeah.
You're doing something on the time I'm paying you to work for me.
It's unethical.
It's unethical for you to do anything other than what I'm paying you for. Kimball was bought and paid for. And if the people that's writing his check don't like what he's saying, he should have thought about it before he said it.
Yes.
If he thinks that he's going to exercise his freedom of speech, but he's on the payroll of Disney, then he has to come under the consequences of Disney.
Yeah.
Disney's the one that pulled his plug. It wasn't Bondi.
Wasn't
I don't know what wasn't Trump. Yeah. I mean, Tucker, he's off here a little bit, Jeff.
If he said...
Because he's trying to slant it under Trump, here's what's happening.
That's right.
This is under Disney.
That's right. That's exactly
so
right.
they're not making the proper distinction. In Bondi, if you're bought and paid for, your time is, you need to be doing what your job is.
Yeah.
And if you're not doing what your job is, you're to be reprimanded for it. And Kimball, I'm sure, was several times before he got fired. Just between me and you, if you ever watched the show a little bit, wouldn't have a bit of problem. He just wasn't.
He should have been fired a long time ago.
I hate to recite Trump, but he just wasn't that funny.
He wasn't that funny.
He wasn't that funny.
No.
And I think Kirk said that too. But but nonetheless, we have to make a distinction in freedom of speech. And when you're on the job working, you're working to speak. You're speaking for the person who's hired you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know as well as I do, Daddy Pete. You own you own your own truck and haul for us. Mm-hmm. When you go to one of my stores and you deliver the product, if you pull in there talking about Daddy Pete and all this, that, and other, I'm not going to pay you to do that.
That's exactly right.
So I'm saying people have got to make a distinction in freedom of speech and freedom to work. Now,
well, my question is, are we at a place at this point, and is this a consequence of Charlie Kirk's death, where freedom of speech needs to be properly defined so that people understand it?
Well, the way they're defining it is proof to me it needs to be properly
defined. I would also add hate speech needs to be properly defined. If it isn't, and I think this is the concern, I may be reiterating a concern Tucker Carlson has, I don't know. But I don't want there to be a group of people in Washington, D.C. to label what is hate speech and what isn't.
Of course not. Not no more than you would encouragement
That's
speech.
Exactly right. At the same time, when you're in the marketplace, the employer you work for in a free market society has the right to fire you over what would be love speech if they want to.
Listen, Jeff, people today, if you get a job, it is not unusual if you come in, you put in for a job, for them not to look you up on Facebook.
Well, absolutely.
And see what you do on Facebook.
Exactly.
Because they're interviewing the person. Okay,
That's
we want
right.
to see who this person is. Look you up on Facebook.
That's
right.
right.
He's got stuff posted here. And they say, well, I don't want to hire anybody like that.
That's right.
And they're just checking up on your background. That's all. And that's totally legal, totally above, totally ethical.
Right. It absolutely is.
To check you out and to see who you are, whatever. If you're going to be representing my company, I want to be sure I got people on my team that are on my team.
Yeah.
And that's
exactly
and
right.
couldn't possibly cost me great liability. Now, in the Kimball situation with Disney, their concern is liability. It's not like there hadn't been some big payoffs already made for liability, like with Trump. And so, I mean, he's been making a spectacle out of some of these by lawsuits
and such.
And so they have to think about that now.
Well, and it brings up an interesting point, because this is the ironic thing that I think is happening. ABC and Disney couldn't have been more to the left. ABC leads the way in leftist propaganda,
they fell off the truck
in wokeism, in pushing ideologies that are from the far left. Mm-hmm. Okay, so they've got a Jimmy Kimmel who is in keeping with basically their expression. Mm-hmm. It appears as though ABC has made somewhat of a turn, and they're saying, no, we don't want that.
Right.
Okay.
Their viewership.
Now, that's exactly what the right was hollering for and criticizing them for. So now they fired Jimmy Kimmel, and some on the far right is saying this is an assault against freedom of speech, and it's coming from the Trump administration. What?
So see,
that's insane.
But that's what causes me to worry about Tucker.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
it does me too.
He's trying to make a point here of being a moderate, being in the middle of the road. Just want to point out a few things here, and he's not. He's hugely biased here,
big time,
on this assumption, and that shocks me.
Now, there are elements behind what may be in. I can't see what's in the heart of Tucker Carlson, but I think I could probably come close in this regard, saying that Tucker Carlson is raising a concern that in the midst of this Charlie Kirk death and all of the celebration of his death that's been posted on social media and all of these things, Charlie Kirk is saying, or not, Tucker Carlson is saying that you have the Attorney General of the United States here trying to label things as hate speech. Now, do they have the power to label things as hate speech? I would say that the Trump administration, though I'm not saying they're trying to do that. I'm not saying the Trump administration is trying to do that. I would say any administration does not have the authority to label something as hate speech and this is not hate speech, because then you're into a panel that is judging morality.
I think you can call it hate speech.
Some you can.
But you don't put a penalty to it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's not against the law.
Fine. That's my point.
You can say it's hate. Okay, that's hate speech. Okay, yeah. What else?
But would that even not be subjective to the hearer?
Of course it would.
Exactly.
I mean, if you call somebody an idiot, it might be sarcasm, but it is a little bit under the hate speech category.
Okay, so I'm a big hate speech advocate then.
That's what I'm saying.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and I agree. I agree with you.
But can you go to jail for that or be fined for that is another issue.
That's another issue. I wonder if that's not what Tucker is saying. However, this issue around Charlie Kirk, me and you both would say, any idiot that would celebrate the assassination of another human being is inappropriate, it's immoral, it's sin. I believe that. I believe that because you're devaluing human life.
Yeah, of course it is.
And it wouldn't have mattered if it was Charlie Kirk or if it was some far left extremist.
But we would still fight for the right to be able to do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course we would.
Without any doubt.
And I don't, and see, like with Bondi, that's the reason, probably need to play it again, to be honest with you. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Jeff. I'm trying to work off a memory here. Back in the Obama days, back in the Biden days, the far left would use the terminology of hate speech quite often. Now, that's how they would throw you under the bus.
Exactly.
You having hate speech here against transgender, homosexuality. They labeled that as hate speech.
That was a talking point against Donald Trump.
Of course,
they said he was a leader in hate speech.
So, I think what's happening here is, like the Tuckers and everybody, they're falling back on those days when the far left used hate speech as a weapon. And now to hear the right use hate speech, then it sounds like you're using it as a weapon.
I agree.
So I think it's where the marriage...
I think that's probably accurate.
I think the carrying over of the terminology is not wise.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the right needs to consider that. Mm-hmm. And I think you need to there again, it needs to bring definition of hate speech. Right. But at the same time, I think the right thing, if you want to be totally more correct about it, let's create another type of speech, lack of manners speech or something. Mm-hmm. Is it lack of judgment or lack of, I lost my word, but it's just like you can have speech that's not, you're not using your better judgment in it.
Yeah.
Now, if you, to label everything as hate speech is, to me, you're going to the extreme.
I agree.
And you're trying to let everything fall in there somewhere.
I totally agree.
Of something
and my concern would be that it's so subjective to the hearer that whoever, if it ever happens, that these, that what Tucker Carlson said would happen, that there would be laws about hate speech. Okay, now you've got a subjective opinion trying to define what hate speech is, because someone would say, if I stand in a pulpit and preach against sin, that's hate speech. I could go to jail for that. Someone else would say, oh no, that's not hate speech. It's just preaching the Bible. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So hate speech then becomes subjective. The left would say it's hate speech to say that homosexuality is sin. Mm-hmm. Those on the right would say that when the left celebrates someone's assassination, that's a form of hate speech. So it's subjective. Is my
I mean, it is. But
I don't know how you make laws around that.
Well, let's take it out of the subjective realm, put it in the biblical realm.
Okay, good.
And
Good place to go.
Let's go for this, and my brain's going to tick here. You'll have to help me and correct me probably. But I'll just take the nation Israel. They were in the wilderness.
Yeah.
And God, the reason the United States is the United States and the reason the freedom is a big deal, we believe that God, Jesus' role was to set people free.
Yeah.
From their sinful nature, from being slaves to other people, whatever. The freedom, I think, is the bedrock, the cardinal thinking process that God has for his people.
Yeah.
Being set free to serve God, right? To have the freedom of worship is the very heart of God.
Yes.
So Israel is in the promised land, going around the mountain, made dirt road around the mountain. And then they had an opportunity, Joshua and Caleb, they had an opportunity to go into the promised land. Mm-hmm. They said, no, there's giants and there's all these sort of things here. Now, think about this a minute. Now, I might be off base. God's into freedom. God took them out of Egypt. Said, I want to take you to your promised land, your place of freedom. But that crowd died in the wilderness.
Yeah.
Because of unbelief in God.
Yeah.
They would have rather went back to Egypt.
Absolutely.
They'd rather go back into bondage than on to freedom.
That's right.
So the reason free speech and godliness, free speech and freedom, free speech and God, free speech and truth has everything to do with our Creator. And that's the reason I think free speech is a big deal, because free speech is the heart of God. But free speech is obedient to God.
Yes, I totally agree.
And freedom comes by having free speech in the things of God. True freedom I'm talking about here. Everybody talks about free speech, free speech. Okay, if I'm going to have free speech, I'm going to agree with God. So I believe the reason worldwide Charlie Kirk was raised the flag of free speech is because the free speech that he promoted was the Word of God.
It was the heart of God.
It was the heart of God.
Yeah.
And it was that he promoted, which equaled true free speech.
Yeah.
Freedom from any type of tyrannical governments or family issue, whatever.
Exactly.
Charlie Kirk's freedom was come to Jesus, come to Christ, be set free, and that freedom allows you to lead others to Christ.
Absolutely.
But there's a tie-in. I'm not quite getting it. Maybe you can help me. But there's a tie-in to free speech in the heart of God that I think they're missing here. They're trying to say this is hate speech. Whoa. Let's exhaust free speech a little bit more.
Which would
perhaps
bring definition to hate speech. I would like to point this out. I'd like to point this out. Those that are anti-free speech or wants to regulate speech, they're wanting to go back to Egypt.
They won't go back to Egypt.
And the reason they want to go back to Egypt and be told what to say is because they're, if I can say it, they're too lazy.
That's right.
And sorry to take any.
That's hate speech.
Lazy, right?
That's hate
exactly.
Speech.
But they don't want the responsibility that is tied to free speech.
Now, come on.
That's the difference.
That's a little thing's got to be thrown in there.
Exactly, because free speech comes with responsibility. Joshua and Caleb was going to go into the promised land and take responsibility
of the problems or whatever
with
they
truth.
Faced.
Exactly.
With the truth.
Then you have Jesus standing in front of what everybody calls, and I'm getting really tired of hearing this part. Really, I really am.
Well, I'm not bringing it back.
It's not there. You are.
Now that I know it, I'm not.
I should never have said that. I get tired of when people call the Pharisees and the Sanhedrin religious leaders. They were more than religious leaders. They were political leaders. They were the government of Israel.
They were the government.
And Jesus said to them, you are a bunch of hypocrites and vipers. Now, in today's world, that would be called hate speech. But it was free speech.
And it was true.
And that's the responsibility that Christ took when he said his word, was the responsibility of manifesting truth.
And I think the only thing that makes freedom free and keeps freedom free is truth.
Yes.
You see, the Israelites, the truth was God said, go take the land.
Right.
That was what the truth was.
Yeah.
And that truth was going to set them into a place of freedom.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't do it.
They wouldn't do it.
So God couldn't take a group of people that didn't believe in freedom
Exactly.
to the place of freedom,
To the land of
to
freedom.
the land of freedom.
Couldn't do it.
You know why? Because they would blasphemed the truth.
And they would not have taken the responsibility.
They would not
I
take
maintain
I agree.
that the reason
That's
people
good
are
right there.
democratic socialists and communists is because they don't want the responsibility to think on their own.
You need to
they
be a
would
preacher.
rather be told what to do.
You need to be a preacher when you grow up.
Well, it's that's yours from now.
I know. But really and truly, Jeff, there's something that we're saying here that we're on the edge of a huge truth that America needs to hear.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I think the further we define free speech, the more we will know what real hate speech is.
That's right. Hate speech is to disagree with God.
That's exactly what it is right there.
That's what hate speech is.
It's not taking the responsibility of truth. If you
Now,
exhaust that one,
Now, you preach that tonight,
you-
big preacher.
I may do it
Yeah.
because listen, what that does is it absolutely dismantles the transgender ideology because there's no responsibility of truth in it. Therefore, it's not freedom; it's
No.
slavery. It's going back to Egypt.
And if you just think for a moment. I'm trying to think over Charlie and what all I've heard him say over the years. That guy was doing that.
Yeah, he was doing that.
That's what he was doing.
He invited it. He
He-
invited people
challenged
to
it.
come. Hey, come to the microphone.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what you want to say. Come to the microphone and let's have dialogue.
Yeah. Truth shall set you free.
That's exactly right.
And that's what true freedom is.
You know
Freedom
what?
of speech.
You know, by the very fact that Charlie Kirk was inviting them to come, they were then starting, even though their argument may have been insanity, their argument may have been wrong, their argument may have been mixed in error, the very fact that he was inviting them to come and speak it out loud was one step of their freedom.
That's right. That was a freedom act.
It was.
It was totally a freedom act. Wow.
So right
and
there.
also, Jeff, we can consider, I think we've considered it. I think we've said, I don't know what else to add to what we just said because I'm sitting here a little bewildered myself.
Yeah, me too.
Because I think
I can say wow. Yeah.
I think we really and truly, through the power of the Holy Spirit, have stumbled upon a truth that needs to be heard.
Absolutely.
And if there's a key to Charlie, I think that's the key.
Yep.
That he's told the truth set people free, so therefore he had this huge example of freedom of speech.
Yes.
He
There's
had
no
the
doubt.
best model out there of freedom of speech.
There's no doubt about that.
And that freedom of speech would set people free, and you can only set people truly free is through the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Well, Mr. Roland, it's a wrap.
It's a wrap. It's been a good week.
It's been a good
On
week.
the Smith and Rowland Show. KingdomPropheticSociety.org, KingdomPropheticSociety.org, KingdomPropheticSociety.what?
O-R-G.
That's it.
All right, Mr.
Come join
Roland,
us.
been a good day. Let's ponder on this thought
Yeah,
of being set free for
Let's do
freedom of speech.
let's do it.
And I want you to go tonight with Kingdom Prophetic Society, and you'll hear Jeff Rowland do his Friday night Bible study.
It's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun.
Down
and
at the shop.
He's down at in the shop, and he'll have people in there.
Yep.
He'll have his chalkboard,
Yep.
and
Ready to
he'll
write.
challenge your thinking.
That's exactly right.
And that it starts at 6:30,
6:30.
so you can come and join us on Kingdom Prophetic Society.
At the Facebook page.
At Facebook page and on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, our YouTube page.
Yeah. Okay,
that's right.
cool.
Okay, Mr. Rowland.
See you, Mr. Smith.
Okay, say bye.
Thank you for joining today's Smith and Rowland Show. You can check out our website at KingdomPropheticSociety.org and our daily unplugged podcast at smithandrolandshow.podbean.com. You can also join us on Amazon, Apple, or Spotify.